welcome to another episode of InsideX for all things moto. We got episode number 4 on the books here, and I'd like to give a huge shout out to Data Video, Royal Distributing. Check those guys out. They got a wicked website, lots of good moto stuff going out the door here. Spring riding, need all those parts and all that good stuff. Parts Canada, we support the sport. Rockstar Energy, got the excellent flavors, the new XD. Check those guys out at 7-Eleven. And Hoosier Off-Road Roost Factory, and also Cardo Systems, the new in-helmet system. You can talk to your mechanic, your spotter, all that good stuff. On the show today, we got a huge show for you guys. Starting off with the Rockstar Energy Recap. We're going to go back to the beach of 2019, Gopher Dunes. We're going to check out those motos and see what that's all about. Great racing there. We've seen Michael Lessie dominate that day, as well as Dylan Wright. The GDR sweeping the home track. We're going to go talk about the Parts Canada prediction. We're going to talk about 250 riders. This is going to be a 3-part installment. We got a lot of guys in that class. We're going to have part 1 today, 5 riders we're going to look into. Insider trading. That's going to be update of the new schedule with the whole COVID situation. We're going to check that out. And we got a couple interviews on tap. Wyatt Waddell, the Carlson Racing Husqvarna rider, as well as MX101 boss man, Kevin Tyler. We're going to touch base with him, talk about past championships, Sandali National, and all that good stuff. This is going to be episode number 4. I'm going to bring my host in here, Ryan Gauld. But anyways, we got a great show ahead of us. We got lots to talk about. Obviously, the recap at Gopher Dunes. I wanted to give a shout out to the Schuster family. Obviously, going through some tough times right now. Just heard that their house burnt down. Man, you know a little bit more about that, Gauldy. What did you want to touch base on that?
Yeah, actually, if you got a good way to support the Schuster family right now, unfortunately, they had a freak electrical fire, house burnt down. All kids' family are safe. Unfortunately, they lost a dog. It didn't get to his shop either, which is beside the house, which has some really cool memorabilia and some team stuff. But unfortunately, that's happened. It's part of it. But a great way you can support them, go onto their Facebook and get yourself a team hat. I actually just bought some for my kids, a GDR Honda Canada hat. Great stuff, couple different sizes, couple different colors from the New Era guys. And go on there, support them. You can get some money towards helping them rebuild their house. And, of course, their business isn't open right now at the track either. So that money will get used for a whole bunch of good things for the Schuster family going through a tough time.
Yeah, awesome to see you support there with your Fox stuff on. Support that team through these tough times. Glad to see everybody's all right. Sorry about the dog, but man, that's a really unfortunate. But anyways, we have a great show ahead of you, and we look forward to getting through some of this stuff, asking you some topics about the 250 guys and get your say on that, Gauldy, as well as insider trading. We have the new updated schedule with the COVID updates, we'll say, and we'll get to those later on in the show. But thanks for joining us. We're going to jump to a quick commercial. We'll be back with InsideX.
All right, Kyle, as you said, it's time for that Rockstar Energy Recap 250 Pro Moto number 2. Moto number 1 saw Dylan Wright destroy the field, and you're going to see right here he gets himself out to a great start once again, along with Jess Pettis, Luke Renzlin, and Tyler Medaya coming to the front. A day at the beach. It's a bit sandy, and it was so hot on this day, Kyle, if you remember.
Yeah, the East Coast gets super hot, and you just see Tyler get out of control there. And after that first moto where he went down off the start, he came from 38th back up to 8th place. He was not in contention for the overall, but just trying to salvage some points.
Yeah, he definitely made a good rebound after moto number 1, especially in that heat. Like we said, it was about 38 or 40 degrees out here today. Absolutely no shade whatsoever for the racers there on the track. Good shot of the MX101 ride right there, the 94 Luke Renzlin, a sand specialist if it were. But the front of the pack was all Dylan Wright and Tyler Medaya. And kind of a funny story, Tyler Medalla was Dylan Wright's hero at one point when they grew up at Saint Denis, now battling here this year or last year in this class, and Dylan Wright took down his icon.
Yeah, he's actually still my hero, so I can probably say that, right? But yeah, great ride by those two coming out of that Ottawa area, the Saint Denis area. And here, guy on screen right now, Marshall Welton with the red plates, not having a great day, Gauldy. He started out the first moto 5th, and he's just passing into 4th there.
Yeah, not a great day. Just could not get the starts, like you said there, and had a little bit of some bike issues and practice and swapping motors. Not always having a full-time mechanic on the team, I think, was a bit of a struggle for sure, and it showed in Welton's results here. He would actually lose the red plate after today, and it would go back to this guy right here on screen, Dylan Wright. And here we are at one point there. Dylan Wright ended up going down, but this was actually the same lap. If you remember, he went down into the whoop section there just before the mechanics area. He's just started chasing down, and man, watch this pass that he ends up laying on Tyler Medalla right here. Kyle, this is one of the best passes all year long. He just sends it and goes for it.
Yeah, it's unreal the speed he gets. Look at it, right through those whoops. And his fastest lap, I swear, was that lap when he crashed, got back up, and he did not want to lose that lead. He wanted the 1-1 on the day, and he caught back to his idol and passed him through a gnarly section.
Yeah, he was so strong on this day, and there's another shot of our that red plate holder right there. Now getting chased by Canella later on this moto. It was good to see the local boy Canella out of the Hamilton area, kind of getting his mojo as we got into this East Coast there, and there's his teammate Luke Renzel. Once again, had a great day right there, a bit quiet, but got to give a shout out to this guy right here, Pettis right now. Started the series hurt, was able to get that little bit of a break after Mendoza as we headed to go for dunes, and man, did it show as he would get a podium here today.
Yeah, a 2-3 on the day, but this guy it's all red for the GDR Honda as they steal the red plate back at their home track with a 1-1 performance. Unreal ride by that guy, and we'll get a look at the results here, Gauldy.
Yeah, there it is. Dylan Wright 1-1, Pettis 2-3, and Rensland 3-4. Madags 8-2. Consistency biting him in the butt. Cool little background story to this one here. Dylan Wright goes 1-1. On the podium after the race, proposes to his girlfriend, and they're supposed to be getting married at the end of 2020, but we'll see how the COVID thing works out for them on that one.
Yeah, talk about winning on that day, and we're going to jump over to the 450s now.
All right, Kyle, like you said, over to the 450 class. Look at that picturesque view right there, the water getting soiled in on the beach right now. The Rockstar girls got the board sideways. There's Yannick Boucher and Ryan Derry getting themselves ready to go. And the first moto, the gate would go down, and I tell you, these riders, they came out so fast and so hard, but you could tell the heat was just going to settle in as the day worked its way in. And look at this, baby bro. Cole Thompson grabbing that first hole shot in moto number 1, Kyle.
Big hole shot. Definitely needed that one. He's got a couple Hondas right behind him there of the red-plated Colton Fasciotti. But look at this guy. This guy knows how to ride the dunes. Number 2, Matt Gerke, so fast in the sand, growing up in that Florida sand.
Love seeing Cole Thompson grabbing that RoyalDistributing.com hole shot. And he would lead early on. And, of course, you can give us some background. Coming into this round, he had a big crash during the week in practice, and he came into this round hurt. So what we get to see on this day was pretty impressive from the number 16. But right here, the 800 was landed on the line. And right in that pass, in that moment, the new Michael Lessie showed up for the rest of this series.
Yeah, we've seen him on the West, not the solidest of riders. He got out here on the East Coast when it got real hot, and he put the time in the sand here and go for dunes. And like I said, Cole Thompson dealing with a couple herniated disc going into the dunes is not something you want. But this guy, right? Oh, sorry, Phil Nicoletti and Matt Gerke. Look at this.
I love this part right here. Look at the pro riders hitting. Yeah, they hit the medic flag there. They stop right there. I feel like Gerke might have got on the gas a little bit early this time. Look at, he still makes this pass as they got past that accident. But as Paul Kingsley says in the riders meeting, you race to the flag, stop at the flag. Once the extra flag comes out after it, you race past right there. Gerke makes that pass on Fasciotti, and now Fasciotti is getting swallowed up by the number 54, the Rockstar Energy OTSF Yamaha rider, who once again showing that outside lines can work. Man, he loves railing the outsides.
Yeah, it's impressive with these lines. Look at it right around Thompson here, too. And Gerke's going to get 2 for 1 in that big sand berm on the outside, that box corner.
Awesome.
Wow. What a pass by Nicoletti. And he was on the rails out there, really determined to do a 1-1 sweep. But it wasn't for a Lessie. He would have had her.
And right there, you see Matt Gerke waving his arms. We saw he would end up going DNF on this day, Kyle. And it would really set him back in this series and basically kind of illustrate his whole year this year. Just so much bad luck, bike stuff, crashes, whatever it is, he would have just a struggle all along. But here it is, moto number 1, the number 800, kind of out of nowhere, Kyle. I don't think anybody expected to do that. Look, he's got no visor on either as if he crashed. But you didn't expect that. Phil Nicoletti getting that second spot. But Alessi, even both of us were just like, wow, he won that moto by like 18 or 19 seconds.
He was gone, and it definitely was unexpected after his Western swing, and this was the moto that triggered a comeback in the Alessi camp, and he started going on a tear on this East Coast, as we'll see in the next episodes to come. But, man, that was the one moto that turned the tide for Mike Alessi going into Moto 2, Gauldy.
Here we go. The gate is down again. 40 of the fastest 450 riders in North America. Fasciotti getting a jump right there, but the teammate 800 around the outside. Who's going to grab it? I believe we gave it to Alessi by a knobby in that one right there. So Mike Alessi grabbing the second moto, RoyalDistributing.com whole shot. And then look at this. Fasciotti looked like he just could not find the pace of this moto. Cole Thompson was the first one to swallow him up, and the rest just kept coming, Kyle.
Yeah, it's weird, being a home track for Fasciotti. He never seems comfortable at the Gopher Dunes. It's almost survival mode every time he gets there, and he just puts himself in the right position to hang on to the points lead or be in the title fight, whatever it be. But there he goes. Nicoletti wind him up and let him go around the outside again, Gauldy.
Just a jack in the box out there. You just crank it, and then boom, he's going around the outside. Boom, he's going around the inside. Man, he was all over the track and all over the place. I think if he could have got that better start, he might have been able to give Alessi a bit more of a run, because at this point, Mike was gone. The bad luck continues once again here for Matt Gerke. Kyle, he could just not find a break in 2020.
Man, that was a scary one. He collided with a lapper there, and then his bike, I don't know if it was a rad hose or something, but that bike let go on him, and wow. I feel like 2 years in a row, he's been nipped with a bad bug there at Gopher Dunes, and it's just not been his day.
Yeah, I say 2020. I meant 2019, as we're trying to get ourselves into the 2020 season, and Matt's healthy and ready to go. We'll see him actually in our social media down. But Alessi on this day was an absolute warrior out there. He every bump he hit, every line he hit, every jump, it worked so good. There's a Gerke right there battling Chad saying, yeah, you're done. The bike is done. Back to Nicoletti battling his way. He's in second spot. But up front, Alessi was so far gone, it was like such a head scratcher to everybody out there. That probably even his team. I think he was the only one that thought he could do something like this. And I would even question if he thought that.
Yeah, well, after Minnedosa mud race, he grabbed his motorhome in Florida. He drove right to Gopher Dunes, and he started pounding motos for 2 weeks. And the champ, not looking like the champ there, falling over. And Tristan Lane, a friendly American guy coming up here, sand specialist in his own right, jumping in there, passing the champ.
And this right here is where you become a champion, okay? You get past, oh man, it sucks, but you stay in it. Tristan Lane goes down a few turns later. Fasciotti passes him back and was able to garner 2 more points towards that 2019 championship run. Look at that, there's a OTSF team member clapping for Alessi. You couldn't be more pumped than that guy right there. I tell you what, 1-1 on the day, and most likely the most dominant 1-1 of 2019 right there at the Dunes for that Honda rider.
Yeah, it was an impressive ride. And Gopher Dunes, 4-moto sweep there with Dylan Wright and Mike Alessi. This guy, if it hadn't been for Alessi, he would have dusted the field. What a ride by Nicoletti coming from behind both motos and getting a 2-2 on the day and solidifying the red plate beside Colton Fasciotti. They would tie after this round.
Yeah, there you go. Alessi, Nicoletti, Thompson, Fasciotti. Moffenbauer, quiet. They didn't even see him out there. Gets 5th. Tristan Lane, O'Farrell, Bobby Piazza right there. Another quiet ride. And if you noticed, right at the finish line there, Alessi lapped Cade Clayson. He got 8th in that moto.
And another mention, Ryan Dowd going 10th overall in the day. He actually came from behind both motos. We watched him go down early on in the lap. 36th, they were registered the first lap, up to 10th and 12th, respectively. And what a ride by him. We're going to jump to commercial, Gauldy. We'll be right back with Parts Canada prediction.
There's nothing like race time. Something that's super undescribable. Nothing gives me that same adrenaline rush. It's all or nothing. Your heart starts beating faster.
A lot of nerves.
For me, I still get nervous.
You know, the adrenaline.
You feel focused. Everything else goes away. You're in the moment. I think that's the feeling that we live for. One goal, one vision.
Welcome back. We're going to take a look at Parts Canada prediction this week, Gauldy, and we're going to talk about 250 riders. And I know there's a slew of them, so we're going to start out with just 5 out of the 15 I've listed in my notes here. And right off the hop, I want to talk about a guy that kind of didn't get looked over when we were talking about the rookies because he's not yet a rookie this year. Ryder McNabb joined that GDR team from a KTM ride. Now, Ryder McNabb, so fresh. I think he's 14, 15 years old, right off 85s into the pro class. Gauldy, give me your prediction or what your thoughts are about him this year going into these nationals.
Well, first I got to put my MRC hat on. He's actually not a pro yet. He'll be an intermediate level racer, so running the intermediate classes at our Trans-Can and stuff like that, and then riding as a Pro-Am on the Pro Sunday. Now over to my Ryan Gauld hat. Man, I like watching this kid. The whole storyline around the family and what he does and how he does all the bike maintenance because his dad got injured in a car accident years ago and the family traveled together. It's quite an amazing story for sure, and to see the evolution of him going right now. I actually got a chance to see him at Dreamland a little bit this winter. He's a bit hard on equipment. He actually kind of reminds me of an early on Dylan Wright. He'll have to kind of fix that to make sure he lasts the motos, but I think he's going to be impressive. There'll be definitely some growing pains, but he's under a great tent. He's alongside some great experienced riders. He's going to have super good support with Colton Fasciotti as like a mentor. He's got everything handed to him right now. It's just going to have to be putting him to put all the cards in play and make them work.
Yeah, I got to say that GDR team has a good look for them right now. Obviously, losing Colton Fasciotti this year to retirement. They put Dylan Wright in his role, which I think Dylan Wright matured so much over the last year and a half. And then they got Tanner Ward to fill the Dylan Wright hole, which Tanner picked up some good steam last year, was just on the nip of a podium position. And now with Dylan Wright and Tyler Medaglia out of the 250 class, it could look like Tanner Ward could be fighting for this championship. And then Ryder McNabb. I mean, he's just going to be a protege of these guys and able to just learn so much off the two guys that have had so many seasons under their belt, as well as Colton Fasciotti and Derek Schuster, who leads the whole team there. I think it's a good pick for anybody to jump on board the Ryder McNabb train because that kid's going to be good in the future. I just want him to stay up, stay healthy, and just get through these motos this year. It would be great to see how he makes out with the big boys.
Go ahead, sorry.
Go on. So I was just going to bring up another rider, but if you have another point on riders, bring it up.
I was just going to say, being so young, he's going to go through those growing pains that we talk about. So, like you said, just get in the motos, finish them wherever you finish. If you get 15th, awesome. If you get 3rd, awesome. But I don't think you can put any stake in what happens in 2020, just as long as he shows up, gets on the gate, finishes motos, and gets that experience.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And like you said, he'll be an intermediate rider this year, not a rookie. We'll wait for the next year to 2021 for his rookie season, but it'll be great experience for him. The next rider on my list here, Gauldy, we seen him last year. He jumped on the scene, unreal. Ryder Floyd, he's going to be riding a Honda this year for that Manluck team.
Yeah, Ryder Floyd out of nowhere, and Abbotsford there takes the very first win of the Triple Crown, the very first race of the year. Again, sort of like, wow, who's this kid? But then we got to see watching him on, obviously the Abbotsford track was a tough way to gauge anything because of the dirt and the soil. But as he got going forward, you could see the kid's got skill. He's fast, and he's done some good stuff, and he did really good at the Monster Cup last year as in the amateur class, which was kind of a weird scenario that he was racing pro in one way and then amateur in the other. But the kid's got skills, and another year under his belt, new bike. As long as they got the bells and whistles figured out there, I could see that guy being a very top 5 competitive and maybe even snag a podium out there if all those cards fall the right way.
I agree. He had some great speed, just inconsistency, a little bit of bike issues here and there. Now being on the Honda, I watched him a bit in Supercross, and he looks great. He looks like he's figuring out, obviously had an injury there, but just judging by, that extra year under his belt, we've seen a lot of people do so much good things after having one pro year and just kind of figuring it out. There's so much to know about it, and maybe coming under the radar for that first win, it kind of put him up on a pedestal, and it was just too much pressure for the kid. This year, I'm excited to see him and see what the Manluck team can do. Another rider under their tent in the 250 class, a really good Supercross rider, John Short. He's going to be riding their Hondas, and I'm interested to see, I'm not sure if you know much about him, but he looks like a strong rider.
Well, I know as much as the most guy just watching any American racer there. You hear his name. Last year in the 450 Outdoor Series, he finished 15th in the points and was right there in the top 10 in some of the motos. He got some 8s and 9s. The guy's got skill. Now put that down to a 250. Is he more of like the way we look at Tyler Medaglia, where on a 450 he's got crazy skill, but when you get to that 250, you got to get a little bit attitudey, a little bit extra cattywampus, as I've heard before on certain things on that 250. You got to be real aggressive. So it'll be interesting to see how he works at it. I always find it weird from a 450 guy jump to a 250 with the kind of results that John Short had. But hey, man, bring it on. He's a strong name. He's a good rider, and I'll be excited to see what he can do.
Exactly, and I think that Manluck team is just getting stronger as they go along. And American Field, they almost, I think they have a merged a team partner that's from Texas, and these are some of the riders that guy was working with, and they just merged together and made a Supercross and a Triple Crown team that is going to come up here and try to do, put a ripple in the scene. And I think they have the team to do it. They have some riders. Obviously, we'll talk about Chase Marquier. He's in the 450 class. We'll talk about him when we get to the 450s. Another rider we actually have on the show later, we're going to talk to Wyatt Waddell. Obviously, last year had an injury early on, but he's riding that Carlson Husqvarna. What are your thoughts on his technically second-year pro, because we only seen him one race last year?
Well, from what I've seen from Wyatt so far, he's a good kid out of the BC region there. Got some skill, got a bit of talent underneath him. Seems to work hard. He's always training. I see his Instagram posts all that, so he likes to train. And he's got a good core group of people that surround him, with that Carlson team being one part of it. But he's real good friends with Jess Pettis, Kyle Springman, and a bunch of good kids out there with like good heads on their shoulder that look towards like the future. They have a good direction, if that makes sense here. I'm kind of talking a bit smart, I guess, here, considering we're talking about racer guys. But I like what I see out of Wyatt. Now, whether he can be a top 5 guy, I think more a top 10. I think the top 5 is a bit of a stretch this year. I don't really know much about his injury and how long he'll be off that bike. I know he's on it now, riding and stuff, but if he can get himself in that top 10 early on, once we get back racing, get some confidence going from not racing for a while, I could see the ball rolling in his direction. I feel like he's one of those kind of guys. You get a little bit of that confidence on the shoulders right there, and he'll start pushing. Yeah,
and I like the kid. Really nice kid to talk to in the pits, and I'm excited to have him on here. I just think coming back from a bad injury like the Achilles rupture he had at Prince George on that finish line section, he cased that tabletop. That's a nasty injury. I'm hoping that his confidence can come with him. We've seen good things out of him in this rookie year and kind of put his name on the map alongside Tanner Ward and Canella. Obviously not quite their level outdoors, but he was pretty close to them indoors, and maybe he can build off that year. Last person I want to talk to, another BC native, Tyler Gibbs. He's seen him last year actually snag a whole shot of the last round of the outdoors, Walton, but also have some good rides indoors. He won a qualifier, beat some top guys. What are your thoughts on Tyler Gibbs coming into this year?
Absolutely love this kid, and I love him for one reason. He's kind of come from an old school family. His dad, Paul, used to race years ago when I was racing, and they literally sent him out this year on the full privateer status. He lived on the road, stayed in a trailer, him and his mechanic, Kevin Urquhart, just traveling along the road, and he'd sleep in the truck, sleep wherever, not some big fancy rig, doesn't have the best equipment, all this stuff, but he just kept fighting and showing up and being a part of the series, and he never let anything get in his way. I love his attitude. I think the only thing missing from his is just a little bit of grit and some speed, and that could elevate him into that real echelon of a top 5, maybe top 7 racer. And I know he switched brands again this year. I believe he's on a Kawasaki, on a Yamaha coming this year. He was on a Kawi last year, going to a Yamaha this year. So on a brand that's very good just from the basis. So I like what I see there. I'm excited to see what he can bring. Like you said, he got some starts. He ran up front. I think he got some confidence. It was all about experience in 19. Once we get going racing, it's all about laying it down for Tyler Gibbs. I could see some good things out of that kid.
You've got the ride, and we've got the parts to keep you going. Royal Superstores, with massive selections of products no matter what your power sport is. Top brands you've come to trust. Huge selection. Amazing prices. Your one-stop shopping destination for the rider in you. Royal Distributing, Canada's power sports leader. Shop online, by phone, or in one of 4 retail locations. Fast coast-to-coast shipping right to your door. Royal Distributing. Eat, sleep, ride.
Welcome back to another edition of Insider Trading. This week we're going to talk about the new updated schedule. Gauldy, I know you've been in touch with a lot of municipalities and just trying to figure out when we can go racing, when looks best. Obviously, Calgary was cut early. We talked about that, and we wanted to bring an up-to-date schedule to you guys. May 1st, here it is, a little early. And on your screen now, Gauldy, it starts with Gopher Dunes in the east. Talk about the new updated schedule.
Yeah, obviously, for those people tuning in, and then obviously going to see this on the social later on, we've been doing the work in the background. We've been calling all the regions, talking to the municipalities, obviously going on to the government websites, and making sure we're getting update as much as you are out there as well on what can happen and what we hope can happen during this COVID-19 pandemic. So as you can see, July 11th, 12th at Gopher Dunes is when round number 1 is going to start. And it's just the way it is right now. That is a hopeful date right now. It is not a for sure date. We're still hopeful and everything going on. The Ontario Premier just launched this week saying that kids aren't going to be going back to school till the end of July. events might be getting pushed back. We know in Saskatchewan that they've announced that they cannot have events till December 31st, so they're not doing anything in 2020. You see here that Deschambault is in September because the Quebec government has said that August 31st is the only, or after that is when we can have events in Quebec. So we're going ahead with what we are hopeful under the circumstances here right now, and it's a good looking schedule. As you can see there at the bottom of it though, Kyle, a little asterisk beside it, double headers. I like this. So basically, if we flip onto that next screen, and you can see this to be determined for the AX Tour, the SX Tour there in October 3rd and 17th are firm dates. But if we get to that next screen, a 3-moto format, Kyle. I like it. Talk to me about this thing.
Yeah, so 3-moto format, it just gives, instead of 5 rounds, it ended up being 10 motos. You add another moto on the Saturday for these guys. So qualifying and practice will be on Saturday as well as registration, you see there. And then right into a Moto 1. So these guys will get that extra moto per round, so it ended up being a 15 moto series instead of 10, so there's extra 5 moto point paying motos. And then the Sunday a little bit more laid back. There's going to be a free practice right in the morning there on the Sunday, and then their typical 2 moto format. The 3 motos are going to be combined for 1 overall on the weekend. I think it's cool, Gauldy. I think it's going to be something different. The TV coverage is going to be all the same. It's going to be live on Fox Sports, MAVTV, and Two Wheel TV app. So everybody's going to be able to see it from home. And all motos, they have something to do on Saturday as well as Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And again, we're up against the wall right now. These are the kind of ideas we got to do. We kind of go a little off the cuff. That's been normalcy in our sport for so long. And we're obviously going to try to be our goal is to fit amateur racing in on these weekends as well. Those are obviously going to be looked at later on once we get closer, and obviously we can make these dates. But the idea behind this thing is to try to deliver a series with the time frame that we have to match the series that was there. You're saying 15 motos? Well, the old series, if it had to run perfectly, would have been 18 motos. So we're really only missing a little bit of stuff here. It still gives our viewers what they're looking for. It gives our sponsors that sponsor our series the clout that our series carries. And like you said, everything's live on TV across all our avenues. So we're doing what we can in the time that is given to us, and if this happens, if we're able to pull this off, it's going to be a deliverable source for all Canadian moto fans, and it's going to be awesome to be a part of. Man, we're really hopeful that it all works out here, and July 11, 12 at Go for Dunes to kick it off. Triple Crown Racing coming in hot.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, Gauldy, and I can't wait for that day that we're at the track. Everybody's out there doing their practice, doing their qualifying, and we're ready to drop the gate on Moto 1. I think it's going to be so much it's just going to be such a relief when we're lining up for that first moto and we're finally done with this stuff that we're dealing with, the COVID situation. I think everybody needs that, even if they're sitting at home watching it on TV. I think everybody needs some racing in their life. But we're going to bring more updates as we go along. That's what this show is all about, keeping you guys informed each week. But we're going to jump to a quick commercial. We'll be back with more InsideX. Welcome back to InsideX. I got a special guest with me today, a good friend and a great race manager, Kevin Tyler, all the way up in Ottawa area, team manager of MX101 Yamaha. How's he doing? How are you doing, Kevin?
Everything's good. I mean, trying to get through these times just like everybody else. But I mean, everybody's relatively good around here and adapting. So I guess we'll go with good as can be.
Yeah, man, it's crazy times, and man, your guys' 50th year, Sandaline. It's unfortunate you can't open up yet to the public. You did, and you had to close for the COVID thing. So I'm sure you guys are itching to get going up there and get some racing, get some practices in. How's the track looking right now?
Yeah, we're good. I mean, we didn't quite get open because basically in April, early April to mid-April is kind of what we sort of gauge as in terms of the weather and things like that up here. So we didn't quite get open before they shut us down. Yeah, and we're just kind of itching and waiting. The track is dried. This weekend probably would have been our first perfect weekend for track conditions, but we're going to make the best of it. I'm going to get out in the dozer in the next week and make some changes. So that we bring it back, at least, we use the downtime to do the best we can to make it fresh so that, not that we need to raise the excitement level because everybody is going to be fired up when we actually get out and get to, back into public and can do some things again.
Yeah, and you see that with all the tracks across Ontario and Canada that are just dealing with the same thing. So I'm sure there's so many anxious riders out there. I just want to step back a little bit and just get the background of where you started, how you got into moto. Like, where you grew up in the Ottawa area? Has it always been there for you?
Yes, I mean, I grew up in my parents' place that, Dad still lives there in Munster, so 5 minutes from the track. My dad actually did trials, motocross with a sidecar back in England. So he was always into motorsports and things like that. And then when I got to around 8 or 9, he found the perfect excuse for him to get a bike was to get me one and have to follow me around. And that's sort of when I got into it was, they bought me a little KDX 80 and started riding a little bit. And, by the time I was 10 or 11, I think we went to our first race at Sandali and another local track in Prescott, and I was hooked. And that was it. That's, that was the end of it.
And like Sandali, that's like at the beginning of the first memory I have of Sandali was in 1999. I rode the provincial there. So 50 years for you guys up there. And obviously you've been riding up there a lot. And you actually grew through from the KDX all the way to the pro class. And that's kind of like where you started the team. You rode pro for how many years?
I don't even remember. I mean, I know I turned pro. I turned pro when I was 16, and I raced, off and on until, I think one of the last big races I did was kind of like the 08 Supercross in Toronto. I rode 250F class there. Yeah. I was well beyond past my prime, but it was one of those events where how often do you get to ride a Supercross in Canada? Not too many people were, not too many Canadians were kind of adopting it for whatever reason. And, I don't know, like I quickly do. I kind of opened my mouth, and next thing I knew, I was lining up.
Yeah, it's a bucket list thing just to ride in the Sky Dome or the Rogers Center, whatever they call it these days. But man, yeah, that's a huge accomplishment and kind of a send off for your career. And then it sparked another career. How did the team situation come? I know one of your early riders, Jeremy Medaglia, we had his brother on a couple episodes ago. Is that what kind of sparked it, and you got going from there?
Yeah, it did. I mean, obviously, I raced professional for a multitude of years, and we've been with Yamaha since the early 2000s, 2001, when they started to support the track and myself and instructors and the educational side of things. And it was 2013 when Jeremy reached out to Yamaha and was looking for a ride. He got let go from KTM the previous year and was looking at what was next for him. And I remember Brian Hudgens called and, it was kind of like, we'd like to do something, but we don't want to do anything direct with the riders. Is this something that would work in the region? Would it help promote Yamaha, help promote Sandali, the track, MX101 and everything? If we can make it all work, what do you think? And, being a racer from beforehand, obviously, not being able to kind of continue racing for being old and round, I was like, yeah, let's do this. And that's kind of what sparked it was, 2013 going back out on the road, with Jeremy as the primary rider. We teamed up with Sean Robinson, ended up with a rig that Dan had built. And, next thing you know, we were, pro racing and ended up winning Deschambault that year. So we won a 450, national class that year as a bunch of yahoos.
Yeah, no, I was actually there that day. And man, that was a great ride. He went 1-1 on the day. And for a privateer team throwing this together, probably last minute of all things. And he was actually, he started out the year going for both classes, but had some issues on the 250 and then switched his concentration over to the 450. And man, you guys did unreal that year for being a first year pro team. Technically, I know you did years on your own, but to get that win and kind of staple yourself as one of the teams to be in Canada. Now, just jumping ahead a little bit, over the last, 3 years since 2017, you guys have won 4 championships. And man, that's for a team of your caliber. You're a smaller team. You don't have that big budget, those guys. You guys must be doing something right to get those championships. What is the special recipe, or as Gauldy says, the pixie dust you guys put on these guys to get those titles?
Well, as if I'm going to tell you guys and everybody else that's watching live. I mean, we want to keep some sort of an advantage, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's true. I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, it really is. I mean, it's super cliche, but it's a dream come true. I mean, when we started in 2013 with Jeremy, I mean, I was just helping out a friend, really, right? I mean, we wanted to go racing, had the utmost respect, which I still do for the kid, and we wanted to go racing, and we ended up doing it. And then, Yamaha approached us halfway through 2013 and said, you guys are doing a great job. We'd like to kind of split our effort, have you guys focus on the 250 class, OTSFF, focus on the 450 class and kind of do it that way. And, way back then, I mean, our whole initial goal through Yamaha and their guidance was to be a development team for Canadians, which I loved, because as I was coming up as a Canadian racer, there wasn't a lot of open positions for Canadians. It really did sort of get farmed out to the Americans right off the bat. And that always kind of stuck a little bit to me, that, there was a bunch of us Canadians that, could have done a little bit better with, I think anyways, if there'd been a bit more support. So, that was music to my ears. And, so we try to make sure that, every year on our team, we've had one, if not two, sort of younger Canadians, looking to make their market move up. And, obviously the dream was always a championship. I'll be honest, at the beginning, I mean, I remember vaguely that, a top 5 was a big deal. Then we got sort of our first podium in the class, and we thought, man, can it get any better? Then we won a moto, then an overall. And then, by the time it came around with Moff and we were leading that championship to win it, it kind of got a little surreal with a week or so to go that, we could do this and actually win this thing. And now that we've, won it with Moff and had great success with Pettis the year after, now it's just expected. And it's funny that it's been such a short time where, podiums are absolutely expected now, race wins are fully expected, and championships come as a result of those. And it's funny to see how far we've come.
It really is, and I've seen it myself over the years. You guys have developed some great riders, had some great Americans come up to join your Canadian riders. And that's it, like the weight off your shoulders when you won with Moff, I could see it. I was actually there that day just watching, spectating, and man, I just seen so much emotion out of you guys, and it was awesome to see kind of an underdog story that was for all the way back to 2012, started with Jeremy Medaglia, and then all the way to winning that championship. And then it's been, like you said, expected. But one thing I wanted to point out, that just a bit of an elephant in the room, the riders that have left you over the last couple of years are 0 for 2 on those championship defense. So, I mean, maybe they need to come back to those Yamahas.
It's one of those things. I mean, I know, I vaguely remember Moss probably going to hate that I tell it, but I know I told him when he was, he decided, he called me and let me know that he decided to go to the Kawasaki route. And I said, that's great. Obviously, we'll still be friends and it's good, but we're going to beat you. Just as long as you know that we're coming after you and we're going to beat you. And the same thing with Pettis last year when he left. I mean, Dylan had the great year and won the championship, but I think, we all had a hand in taking Jess's number 1 away from him. It is. I mean, I think you talk about the pixie dust and what we've got going on. I think the vibe around our team is a little bit different. I do things a little bit different than some of the other teams. Maybe it's maybe it's because of the budgetary issues and constraints and things that I have to be a little bit outside the box on some things. Maybe it's just who we are, but we've got a very solid core in our team that has been there since the beginning. Cale Foster joined us at the first year with Jeremy. It was halfway through the year when he took over for Jeff McConkey, who got hurt riding, and Jeremy needed a mechanic. We brought in Cale. We've been with our, we call him just our engine builder, Alan Brown, but I mean, he's much more than that behind the scenes than what people know or see, other than the people that have been directly involved. But he's a huge part. Joe with SSS suspension. I mean, those are the core of our group, and we've never sort of wavered outside of that. Not everybody always probably agrees with the decisions that we make, but we do make them as a team and we make them as a group, and I think that's part of the difference.
But man, it's been great having you, Kevin, and man, I can't wait to the first gate drop, see how your boys do. We'll have to check back in with you once the season starts going and see how these guys are doing on the Yamahas. And thanks again, man, and you stay safe, and greetings to all your family back home.
All right, thanks, you guys, and thanks for taking the time with us. And yeah, hopefully we get this birthday party kicked off at Sand Lee and can celebrate this 50 years. It's a big deal.
Yeah, huge deal. All right, thanks a lot.
Before the light.
Welcome back, and I got another special guest for us, Wyatt Waddell, the Carlson Racing Husqvarna rider. Didn't see much of him last year with that injury, which we'll talk about, but man, good to see you, Wyatt. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Nice to see you guys.
Man, let's just take it back a little bit. And when I was doing some content pieces, just kind of looking up some of the stuff about you, I seen that you went to Walton a few times. So bring it back. Where did you start your amateur career? Where was the first track you went to, first bike?
My first track was Mission Raceway. I had a PW50 that I got from one of my uncles, an old yellow PW50 with the number 1 on it. We went to Mission there, had my first race. And yeah, it was a good time. I remember struggling to make it up the jumps and stuff like that. And I think we bought a KTM Junior that very day. But,
Actually,
yeah.
That's a good bike. A lot of people have memories, and you're actually quite young for riding one of those yellow number 1 bikes. That's like more of my generation in the 80s. But you've seen them all over the place. Yamaha with the number 1 P-dubs are pretty cool little units. And then right to the KTM, you get serious right away. Now, growing up through the amateur ranks, my first memory of you was, I believe it was junior class at Walton. You started getting some podiums there. And man, for us, Walton's an hour and a half from here. It's our backyard. It wasn't anything. And you know what I mean? I didn't take it for granted. I've gone every year since '96. But for somebody like you, it's across the country. It's a commitment. Tell us about your experience with Walton Transcan.
Yeah, ever since I started, Walton was always a dream to go for me, and for being a kid from the West Coast, from the far west Vancouver here. It was always something I watched on TV and always watched the National and always read about it on all the motocross websites, and always wanted to make it out there. And so fortunately, I was having a good year in my junior class in 2013 there, and we were lucky enough to have Big Steel Box support us. They took me, Casey Keys, Jacob Piccolo, and Julian Bennick. They sent the 4 of us out there in a container, or not us, but our bikes, and then we flew out there. And it was a really cool experience. I remember driving through the gate there for the first time and just having such a surreal feeling, and it was really cool. Everyone was awesome, going there and biking around and meeting new people. And I remember being a little nervous for the first practice, and didn't have the best times, but when the gate dropped for the first moto, I ended up coming out and grabbing the whole shot, and I won my first moto there. So that was a really cool feeling.
Man, that's actually not many people have that memory of going out there, the first moto and winning. And I'm pretty sure I probably watched that moto, and that's where your name stuck out with me. I believe you were on a Kawasaki at the time. But my first memory was there. I went out 3 laps practice, fell over, somebody hit me, broke my arm. And I actually I stuck around all day to watch practice because I didn't want to miss anything. And then I went to the hospital, got my arm set, came back, and I've been hooked ever since. But man, that is an unreal memory to go out there, whole shot, and win your first moto. Especially like just the hype for you and the pressure you feel of going across the country. And it almost feels like you're in a different country. You know what I mean? Like you're so far from home at a young age. That's pretty cool. And definitely my first memory of you on that Kawasaki with those red numbers winning that moto. So that leads me into, like, obviously you came back a couple years, rode intermediate, and then what was your first experience in the pro class?
At Walton there, or
just in general? What was your first pro race as an intermediate, or?
Yeah, so I think it was the following year. I raced Kamloops National as an intermediate on my Cowie that year. We did the Kamloops National. I remember it was hot. It was really hot, and I remember just thinking I wanted to pull off so badly, but I made it through, and I think I got somewhere around 30th or something. Wasn't great, but it was a really cool experience, and something I think about it to this day, and just remember going out there and in the heat of Kamloops there, and really cool experience. I rode there, and then I think we did the Nanaimo National, and then the Calgary National, and all good experience. We went to Raymond, I believe, after that for the West Can, and I ended up crashing real hard there, and I partially ruptured my spleen, and that put me out for close to a year after that. But
yeah, that's a tough go. And like the first real jump onto the national scene that we've seen you, the real wave was the 2018 Triple Crown Series, where we've seen you become part of that rookie race out of nowhere, really, because the true favorites going into it were Tanner Ward and Marco Canella, and then all of a sudden Wyatt Waddell kind of put your stakes in there and made a good run at it. ended up with a national number 23, which is unreal as a rookie, having that number. What was that year like for you? Was it just kind of a light pressure? Obviously, Carlson Racing backing you. Tell us about that first year full pro.
Yeah, for that first year, previously before that, I was supposed to turn pro in, I believe it was 2016. At the beginning of that 2016 season, I started training and getting ready for that, and I was just about to head down to California, and I ended up tearing all the ligaments in my right knee, my ACL, MCL, LCL, and my meniscus. So that was about a 2-year period where I did no racing, and coming into that 2018 preseason was the first time I started riding, and really starting from a very low point in my physical form and my riding. I got back, I worked hard, and I went down to California and worked with Kevin Urquhart, and Jess was there, and a few other guys, and we just put the hammer down and tried to prepare as much as I could, and came into that 2018 season really not knowing where I'd be not racing for so long. I knew what I was capable of. It was just where I would fit in, and just knowing that I had to keep building and try to go into that season with not putting too much pressure on myself, but just trying to stay focused and do the best I could. It was a really cool experience. Something I'll remember for a long time, and getting to travel across the country in motorhome, and with my teammates Davey and Keelan that year, and just getting to see the country and racing all these different tracks and all these new people. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah,
sure.
no matter the result at the end of the day, the experience of going cross country with your buddies, racing dirt bikes professionally, that's a pretty cool experience. But it ended up well for you, getting that that national number 23. And then fast forward to 2019, we didn't see you in the indoor scene. You were still kind of getting back up to par after doing, I believe, some schooling and stuff like that. You got your realtor license during that time?
Yeah. So during that time that I injured my knee, I went to school and got my realtor's license. And during that 2018 off season, there were just some courses I had to finish and to get fully licensed. And so I had to kind of delay a little bit just with my training just to get that finished, so then I could have that in my pocket for down the road. And then once I finished that up, then I went down to California and started putting the work in for the 2019 season. And it was a really good off season. I was feeling really good coming into that first round, and I was in the best shape I'd ever been in and riding the best I ever had. Felt really good. My results of the first round didn't necessarily show how good I was feeling. I didn't ride as great there in that first moto at Calgary, and then I had a good start for the second moto, but ended up getting caught up in a pile up there, and then we went on to Prince George, and in practice there, I definitely wanted to turn it around, and I was feeling real spicy for that weekend, and I was probably a third lap or so in that first practice, and I seen I was sitting up pretty good on the board, and I knew there was the big table jump up to the top there before the finish line, and I knew if I didn't get that, then I wanted to stay up high on the time qualifying, so I tried to get that out of the way right away, and just a little bit of a misjudgment there, and came up quite short and ended up rupturing my Achilles. So.
Yeah, that's a tough injury, and that was, I believe, actually you went to the start line not knowing what you injured. You went to the start to try to race that first moto, and you went off the start, or did you just try to do a hot lap and it was just like a no-go?
Yeah, I did we rolled down there. I wasn't sure. From the few laps or 4 laps that I did in the first practice, it held up, and I was able to get into the race. And we went down there. I wasn't sure if I just stretched it or strained something, and we went out for the sight lap, and I just couldn't even ride over the bumps, or I tried doing some of the little tabletops, and just when I landed, that was really tough. Just knowing all the work I'd put in that season and how good I wanted to do, and just show everyone what I was capable of, and I was feeling really good that day and ready to go and battle with the boys. So it was that was tough. That was a tough way to go out. But I put my head down and worked hard with recovery. And hopefully we're racing soon, and we can get back out there on the track. So
from day one, Fox has created products with intention and purpose, so we can inspire your best ride your fastest race, your greatest adventure. It's how we connect and how we dream. We were made for inspiration and for possibilities, for fast starts and long journeys, for challengers and for champions. Fox was made for you. So get out there and do what you're made for.
And man, what another great episode. We had Kevin Tyler, Wyatt Waddell talking here. Obviously the good breakdown and Gopher Dunes. Next week we're going to jump to, what was the next round? Oh, Sandali, Gauldy. So that was a good one. Had a lot of drama there.
Oh, I don't know if we'll have anything to talk about from that race, Kyle. It was pretty boring last year. Yeah, right. No, that one was heated all the way around. It'll be a great one to recap. But yeah, great show. Love hearing from Kevin Tyler, man. One of the most experienced team managers over the MX 101 place right there. And great seeing that shot of the East Coast from Tyler Medalli out there living in Nova Scotia. Obviously, just over a week ago, we had that huge scare and bad scene that happened there. So all our prayers and thoughts out to all the families, everybody in Nova Scotia. Stay strong, and you know that people here in Ontario and BC and everybody at InsideX are thinking about you guys. What a tough time, and it's great to see that people like Tyler Medalli are still getting out there, and you're not letting that stop you out there on the East Coast. It's great to see, and as we said, stay strong and stay home during the COVID-19.
Well said there, Gauldy, and thanks for joining me again. It's always awesome talking and chatting about it, and I love your insight on all the riders and the racing. So we'll join up again next week for episode 5 of InsideX.